For decades, The Simpsons has been seen as just a cartoon full of jokes and chaos. But what if it's more than that? What if it somehow knew what was coming? From political events to shocking world moments, this show has predicted the future in ways that are hard to explain. In this video, we'll uncover 5 of the most unbelievable Simpsons predictions that turned out to be real. Stories so accurate, they'll make you question how a cartoon could see the future. It was March 19, 2000. Millions of people tuned into Fox for a new episode of The Simpsons. It was season 11, episode 17, called Bart to the Future. It seemed like another lighthearted, future-themed episode, but buried inside was a single line that no one paid much attention to. 16 years later, that line would shock the world. The story begins with the Simpson family going on a picnic. Things don't go as planned. The park is overrun with mosquitoes, so they leave. On the drive home, they pass by a Native American casino and decide to stop. Since Bart is only 10 years old, he's not allowed inside, but he sneaks in by hiding inside a ventriloquist's dummy case. When he's discovered during a show, chaos follows, and security drags him away. Instead of kicking him out, the casino manager, a Native American man, shows Bart a vision of his future, and it's not a good one. In this future, Bart is a 40-year-old failed musician living in a rundown beach house with Ralph Wiggum. They spend their days drinking and reminiscing about dreams that never came true. Bart dropped out of college and still believes fame is just around the corner, but he's broke. He lives off his parents, Homer and Marge, and even borrows money from their neighbor, Ned Flanders. His only gig is playing music at Nelson Muntz's beach bar where he's paid in popcorn shrimp. When they can't pay rent, they're kicked out. Meanwhile, Lisa has taken a very different path. She's now the President of the United States. During one short scene, she tells her advisors, "As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump." At the time, in 2000, Donald Trump was just a businessman and reality TV personality. The idea of him as president seemed impossible. Writer Dan Greeny later explained that choosing Trump was meant to represent America hitting its lowest point, a warning, not a real prediction. In the episode, Bart ends up in the White House, causing trouble and embarrassing Lisa. During one speech, he interrupts her to sing a song about taxes, making her look bad on live television. Her team explains that other nations are demanding the U.S. payback debts left from Trump's presidency. To keep Bart busy, Lisa gives him a fake position called Secretary of Keeping It Real. Later, Bart has another vision where a spirit urges him to change. He tries to fix things by stalling the country's debt collectors, and somehow it works. When the vision ends, Bart promises to improve his life, but Lisa soon finds him and tells him their mom, Marge, lost $20,000 gambling, and they've been kicked out of the casino. Bart laughs, saying she probably just dreamed about being president. Behind the scenes, writer Dan Greeny said the episode was inspired by Lisa's wedding, another future-based story. This time, the team wanted to explore Bart's adulthood. What happens when a kid who never takes life seriously grows up? Greeny wanted Bart to look tired and worn out, not confident. Showrunner Mike Scully said it was unsettling to see such a beloved character turn into a failure. The Trump line was written to create a political crisis for Lisa. Back then, Trump's brief political ambitions were treated like a joke, which made him the perfect symbol for a chaotic past government. Nobody imagined it would come true. But on November 8, 2016, it did. Days later, The Simpsons opened a new episode with Bart writing on the chalkboard, "Being right sucks." The old episode went viral. Fans called it one of the most accurate predictions in TV history. In 2015, the show even released a short called Trumptastic Voyage, showing Homer flying through Trump's hair and passing a Trump 2024 sign, another joke that eerily matched reality later. In 2021, viewers noticed Vice President Kamala Harris's purple outfit at her inauguration looked just like Lisa's in the episode. Then, in 2024, Trump ran again and won. By July 2025, creator Matt Groening joked that The Simpsons would only end when you know who dies, adding that people in their world would celebrate until President J.D. Vance banned dancing. What started as a simple what-if story about Bart's future became one of television's strangest coincidences, and it all came from one quick line. "As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump." It was January 6, 2021 in Washington, D.C. Thousands of people gathered outside the U.S. Capitol. Most were supporters of then-President Donald Trump, convinced the 2020 election had been unfair. Inside, Congress was meeting to confirm Joe Biden's win. Outside, tension turned to chaos. People broke windows, clashed with police, and forced their way into the Capitol. For a few hours, it felt like the country was falling apart. But soon after the riot, something strange began circulating online. A clip from The Simpsons, Season 7, Episode 18, "The Day the Violence Died," which first aired on March 17, 1996, suddenly went viral. Viewers were quick to notice how the old cartoon looked eerily similar to what had just happened in real life. In the episode, Bart and Lisa watched the Krusty the Clown Show, where a parody cartoon based on Schoolhouse Rock introduces a singing amendment to the U.S. Constitution. But instead of celebrating democracy, it promotes harsh control and aggression. The amendment sings, "I'm an amendment to be, yes, an amendment to be, and I'm hoping that they'll ratify me. There's a lot of flag burners who have got too much freedom. I want to make it legal for policemen to beat them." It continues, "'Cause there's limits to our liberties. At least I hope and pray there are, 'cause those liberal freaks go too far." A child then asks, "But why can't we just make a law against flag burning?" The amendment replies, "Because that law would be unconstitutional. But if we changed the Constitution," the child says, "then we could make all sorts of crazy laws." Moments later, a cartoon congressman rushes out of the Capitol, cheering that the amendment is passed. Suddenly, animated amendments, some holding weapons, charge up the Capitol steps shouting, "Doors open, boys!" What was once a dark joke about politics now looked disturbingly familiar. Social media exploded with comparisons. Twitter user Francis Creven shared the clip, writing, "Simpsons predicted it many years ago." People posted side-by-side images of the real Capitol rioters next to the cartoon scene. Fans also recalled another Simpsons episode, Treehouse of Horror 31, which aired on November 1st, 2020. In it, Homer falls asleep on Election Day and wakes up on January 20th, 2021, to find Springfield in ruins. Fires burn, the sky is dark, and the four horsemen of the apocalypse ride through town. The message, ignoring your vote can lead to disaster. In real life, January 20th, 2021, 2 weeks after the Capitol riot, felt equally uneasy. Security forces surrounded the Capitol as the country prepared for Biden's inauguration. Fans noticed something chilling. During that same Halloween episode, Homer sits on his roof in armor as the screen reads, January 20th, 2021. For many, it felt like another prediction, but this wasn't new for The Simpsons. In another episode, Mel Gibson storms the Senate floor in a violent remake of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Before the 2020 election, a scene even showed Homer struggling to decide his vote, while a long list of Trump controversies scrolled by. Showrunner Al Jean later explained that the writers never tried to predict the future. They simply exaggerated real-world issues for humor. But sometimes reality caught up. That's what made the 1996 scene feel so disturbing. What was meant as satire about extremism became a real-world event 25 years later. When rioters stormed the Capitol that day, carrying flags and forcing their way inside, the images on the news looked almost identical to the old cartoon. Even fan art deepened the confusion, showing a Simpsons-style version of a rioter with horns and face paint, which many mistook for a real scene. With more than 700 episodes since 1989, The Simpsons has touched on almost every topic imaginable. Some coincidences were bound to happen. But what makes this one stand out is how a cartoon once meant as a warning about chaos ended up mirroring one of the most shocking events in modern American history. It was May 6, 1993, when a new episode of The Simpsons aired on Fox. It seemed like a regular comedy episode, but decades later, people would claim it predicted something far bigger, a global pandemic and the chaos that followed. The episode, called Marge in Chains, opened with an infomercial where Troy McClure and Dr. Nick Riviera promoted a new juicer called the Juice Loosener, made in Osaka, Japan. In the factory, a sick worker coughed on the boxes before they were sealed and shipped to Springfield. Those boxes carried unseen germs that soon spread across the town. A new illness called the Osaka flu began to infect nearly everyone, except Marge Simpson. She stayed healthy, caring for Homer, Bart, Lisa, and Grandpa. But the constant stress eventually got to her. One day, while shopping at the Quickie Mart, she accidentally forgot to pay for a bottle of bourbon meant for Grandpa. Apu, the store clerk, called the police, and Marge was arrested for shoplifting. The whole town was stunned. Marge had always been seen as kind and responsible, but Mayor Quimby used the situation to his advantage, turning it into a public scandal. The Simpsons hired Lionel Hutz to defend her, a lawyer known more for his mistakes than success. During the trial, Hutz even introduced his Alcoholics Anonymous sponsor, musician David Crosby, as part of his defense support. Unsurprisingly, Marge was found guilty and sentenced to 30 days in jail. Without her, the Simpson home quickly fell apart. Meals went uncooked, clothes piled up, and the family struggled. The town also suffered. The annual Springfield bake sale failed because Marge wasn't there to make her famous marshmallow squares. With less money raised, officials replaced a planned Abraham Lincoln statue with one of Jimmy Carter, angering residents and triggering a riot. To calm things down, Mayor Quimby released Marge early. When she returned home, the townspeople gathered to welcome her. The Jimmy Carter statue was reworked to look like Marge and renamed Marge Forever. Bart and Lisa even turned it into a tetherball post. That was how the episode ended. But years later, when COVID-19 spread in 2020, fans noticed how similar the story felt. Clips of Springfield residents opening packages from Japan and getting sick began circulating online. People pointed out how the Osaka flu's spread mirrored early fears about international shipping and travel. Another scene caught attention too. A crowd gathers outside a hospital demanding a cure. When a truck arrives, they assume it's medicine, but after tipping it over, boxes labeled "killer bees" spill out. The bees swarm and attack the crowd. In 2020, reports of murder hornets in the United States caused panic, making the old cartoon feel eerily familiar. Even Mayor Quimby, pretending to work from his office while secretly on vacation, reminded viewers of politicians caught traveling during lockdowns. Writer Bill Oakley, who co-wrote the episode, later explained that the Osaka flu story was based on the 1968 Hong Kong flu. The idea of germs spreading through packages was just a joke, not a prediction. But he admitted that the similarities people pointed out were strange coincidences. Over the years, The Simpsons has been linked to other supposed predictions. Another episode showed a news anchor broadcasting from home during a curfew, much like real-life newscasts during lockdowns. And in the 2012 episode, A Totally Fun Thing That Bart Will Never Do Again, Bart caused panic on a cruise ship by faking a global outbreak, similar to what later happened when cruise ships were quarantined at sea. So did The Simpsons really predict the future? The creators say no. After decades of covering countless topics, some jokes naturally end up matching real-world events. But for fans stuck at home in 2020, watching stories about illness, insects, and political scandals, Marge and Chains felt less like a cartoon and more like a strange reflection of reality. In the end, the episode wasn't about predicting anything. It showed how quickly fear spreads, how power can be abused, and how people react when things fall apart. What began as a funny cartoon about a flu and a tired mother became one of television's most talked about episodes. It was January 23, 1992. The world was getting ready for Super Bowl 26. Millions of fans were checking stats, placing bets, and preparing for the big game. But in Springfield, something unexpected was about to happen. That day, The Simpsons aired an episode titled Lisa the Greek. On the surface, it was about a father and daughter bonding over football. But hidden in that simple story was something that would later leave people stunned. In the episode, Lisa feels distant from her father, Homer, who spends most of his time watching football. To get closer to him, she starts watching the games too, and quickly discovers she can predict the winners almost perfectly. Homer realizes he can use her predictions to place bets, and he starts winning every time. But when Lisa finds out he's using her for money, she feels betrayed. To teach him a lesson, she picks a team she hopes will lose, so he'll stop gambling and pay attention to her instead. Lisa predicts that Washington will beat Buffalo in the upcoming Super Bowl. 3 days later, in real life, Washington defeated the Buffalo Bills in Super Bowl 26. The episode's prediction had come true. At first, people thought it was just a lucky guess. But then things got even stranger. Over the next few years, The Simpsons re-released that same episode with new teams to match each upcoming Super Bowl. And every single time, Lisa's chosen team won in real life. In 1993, Lisa predicted the Dallas Cowboys would beat the Buffalo Bills in Super Bowl 27. They did. In 1994, she again picked the Cowboys over the Bills, and the Cowboys won again. In 1995, the show predicted the San Francisco 49ers would beat the San Diego Chargers. They did too. By then, The Simpsons had correctly predicted 4 Super Bowl outcomes in a row. Fans started wondering how the writers kept getting it right. Then in 1999, another football-themed episode aired, Sunday, Cruddy Sunday. In it, Homer and Bart go on a road trip to Miami to watch the Super Bowl. But when they arrive, they find out their tickets are fake, and chaos follows as they try to sneak in. The story was mostly comedy, but one detail stood out. The winning team wore red and gold uniforms, just like the San Francisco 49ers. Years later, in 2020, the 49ers actually played in Super Bowl 54 in Miami, the same setting shown in the episode. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, but the similarities were hard to ignore. In 2012, another episode called Lisa Goes Gaga featured pop star Lady Gaga performing a wild concert in Springfield, flying over the crowd with wires. At the time, she had never performed at a Super Bowl, but 5 years later, in 2017, she headlined the real halftime show, and her performance looked almost identical to the cartoon. She even descended from the roof wearing a sparkling outfit, just like in the episode. In 2005, an episode called Bonfire of the Manatees showed a scoreboard reading Broncos 19, Seahawks 14. In 2014, those exact teams met in the real Super Bowl, though the score was different. Fans were quick to notice how accurate the matchup itself was. Over the years, The Simpsons has also joked about teams like the Detroit Lions, referencing their losing streaks and empty stadiums. A fan-made image even spread online showing Homer holding a Super Bowl trophy in a Lions jersey, though it never appeared in the show. More recently, the show featured a future scene where the Jacksonville Jaguars defeat the Buffalo Bills in a Super Bowl, a prediction that hasn't happened yet. But the strange accuracy of The Simpsons goes far beyond football. Still, it's the football predictions that fascinate people the most. The accuracy of those early episodes, especially Lisa the Greek, makes fans wonder how a cartoon could get so much right. Even now, people rewatch old episodes looking for clues about what could come next. Some think it's just smart writing and a good understanding of trends. Others believe there's something deeper behind it all. Whatever the case, one thing's for sure. When The Simpsons predict something, the world pays attention. It was September 20th, 1998, in the fictional town of Springfield. A new episode of The Simpsons aired called The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace. In it, Homer Simpson faces a midlife crisis and decides he wants to become an inventor like Thomas Edison. Viewers found it funny. Homer builds odd inventions like an electric hammer and a makeup gun. But hidden in a short scene was something no one noticed, a strange detail that would later shock real scientists. During one part, Homer stands in front of a blackboard with a complicated equation. It looked like a random math joke. But years later, experts realized that this cartoon dad had unknowingly predicted one of the biggest scientific discoveries in modern history, the mass of the Higgs boson, or as many call it, the God particle. Homer did it 14 years before scientists actually confirmed it. In 2015, physicist and author Dr. Simon Singh was researching math and pop culture for his book. While rewatching The Simpsons, he spotted that scene. The blackboard equation seemed silly at first, but Singh, who had a PhD in particle physics and had worked at CERN, the famous research center in Switzerland, recognized something familiar. The formula wasn't random. It appeared to estimate the Higgs boson's mass. To understand this, we go back to 1964. Physicist Peter Higgs and 5 others suggested that all particles, the smallest building blocks of everything, gain their mass by interacting with an invisible energy field spread across the universe. This became known as the Higgs field, and the particle linked to it was the Higgs boson. For decades, scientists believed in the theory but couldn't prove it. That changed in 2012. Researchers at CERN used the world's largest particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, in a project costing about $13.25 billion. After years of testing, they found a particle matching predictions for the Higgs boson. Its mass was about 125 giga-electron-volts, or GeV. The discovery confirmed the theory and earned Peter Higgs and François Englert the Nobel Prize in Physics. What surprised Singh most was how close The Simpsons had come. Homer's 1998 equation predicted a Higgs boson mass of around 775 GeV, much higher than the real number, but shockingly close for a cartoon joke. It turned out the formula wasn't random at all. It was written by David X. Cohen, a Simpsons writer who studied physics and later created Futurama. Many of the show's writers had strong academic backgrounds in math and science. Cohen even contacted his friend David Shiminovich, an astronomer at Columbia University, to help make the equation look real. Together, they used real physics constants, such as the Planck constant, gravitational constant, and speed of light, to design a believable formula. When calculated, it produced the 775 GeV estimate. Homer Simpson might be a cartoon safety officer, but behind him on that blackboard was an equation connected to one of the greatest scientific findings in recent history. Dr. Singh later wrote The Simpsons and Their Mathematical Secrets, explaining how the show quietly included advanced math ideas like Fermat's last theorem, Mersenne primes, and perfect numbers. Few other TV shows have hidden so many complex topics under simple jokes. One blackboard in another episode even seemed to show a possible solution to Fermat's last theorem, a math problem that remained unsolved for over 350 years. Singh believes this wasn't by chance. Writers like Al Jean, who entered Harvard at 16 years old, had deep academic knowledge. Their education allowed them to include clever math details disguised as humor. Singh also thinks this helped inspire young viewers, showing that math and science can be both smart and funny at the same time. Still, the Higgs boson prediction stands out. A cartoon writer and his astronomer friend created an equation that came surprisingly close to one of the biggest scientific discoveries ever made. Sometimes, remarkable ideas appear in the most unlikely places, even on a cartoon blackboard behind a man in a white shirt eating donuts.